This is all very interesting. That's Mark Meadows there, President Trump's chief of staff. He says, look, Nancy Pelosi rejects everything. It's all or nothing. It's either my $2.2 trillion deal or nothing. Stephen Moore is with us. He's a member of the President's Council Economic Recovery Task Force, I should say. Stephen, welcome back. Good to see you again. Now,
it's good to be with you.
You don't think that the $1.3 trillion package is worth what? You don't want to see anything, do you?
Well, $1.3 trillion, that's a lot of money. And it is true that, you know, the White House and the Democrats have agreement on a number of things. They want more money for hospitals and coronavirus expenses for states. They want both the president and Pelosi want these additional $1,200 payments per person. They want to get that money out quickly. The big holdup right now, Stuart, is the blue state bailout. And that's the issue where, the White House and the Democrats are not even close. The Republicans have offered somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 to 200 billion, which is a lot of money, given that the states still have money from the last round of CARES package that they still haven't spent. Pelosi wants closer to $900 billion for states and cities. And that's, I think, the real standoff right now is, and by the way, Republicans would be crazy to give $900 billion to Illinois and New York and California and New Jersey and these blue states that have acted so fiscally irresponsibly. So, but I don't think there's a lot of public support for Pelosi's position, which is give me everything I want, or I'm going to walk away from the table. That's not a negotiation. What she wants is a surrender from the White House.
Do you think at the end of the day, whenever that is, you think there's any kind of stimulus package coming down the pike at all?
I do. I think they will reach an agreement somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.5 trillion. Yep. By the way, don't forget, Stuart, that's on top of the $2.5 to $3 trillion we've already spent. So we're talking about enormous sums. And I think that it will involve individual payments. I hope it includes the payroll tax cut, which, as you know, is something that I've been a big advocate for, as well as Art Laffer. So I think in the next few weeks, you'll see sounder minds prevail. Because look, those Democrats in those districts, remember, Democrats won about 20 seats that are Republican districts where those voters want to see a deal. And Pelosi's basically stonewalling. So I do think there will be a deal, and I think that money will be flowing sometime by early October.
Yeah, look, the 64 days to an election, you bet your life we're going to spend some
Not a lot of time.
Right. Now, here's what I really want to talk about today. We have this video. Rand Paul attacked after leaving the White House on the president's speech on Thursday night. You're telling us that you were attacked as well. I want you to take us all the way through the incident, because to me, this is what America has come to today, and I think it's appalling. Give me your story.
So I was at the White House on Thursday night for the speech, Stuart. And by the way, this is the casualty, I guess, of coming on the Stuart Varney show, because what happened is, as I left a little bit early from the president's speech because I had to do a bunch of media, including Fox, the next morning. And so I beat the crowd out. And as I exited the White House, the security person who opened the gate for me said, "Hey, be careful out there." And I was kind of taken back by that. I didn't know quite what he had meant, because we were inside the White House grounds, and I hadn't realized that there were these protests going on. And what happened is I had parked about 8 blocks away from the White House. And after I got outside that 3 or 4 block perimeter where the police, had a lot of patrols and a lot of law enforcement people, as soon as I got out of that area, and I was by myself. I probably wasn't very smart, Stuart. And I walked into a Black Lives Matter rally. I didn't even realize what I was getting into. And instantly, a couple of people, I think, recognized me, probably from your show, Stuart. And they came up to me and in a very menacing way. Now, Stuart, I want to be clear. I was not assaulted. I was afraid. They kind of surrounded me, and they were, shouting obscenities, "You effing pig," and that kind of thing. And they were, they had a kind of deranged look on their face. And by the way, the interesting thing, Stuart, these weren't blacks. They were whites, the ones who came up to me, young people in their 20s and 30s. And finally, and there's a happy ending to this story for me, which is that a police officer who was down the street about a block away came and kind of escorted me out of there. So, Stuart, I do believe Blue Lives Matter because those police do an amazing job. Well, but it's not just me, Stuart. I have 4 or 5 other friends.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Who exited and have very similar stories.
Yeah, Dan
the
Bongino
violence is escalating.
His wife. Yeah. Were you spat on, Steve?
Sorry?
Were you spat on?
Yeah. And they were following me in a very menacing way. I kept kind of looking over my shoulder. If you've ever had that experience, if you're walking down a dark street and somebody's standing right behind you. So, I was very worried. It didn't take much for somebody to start throwing a punch. And, of course, I was completely outnumbered. But you got to be safe out there. It's a very, very dangerous situation. And I'm still waiting, for a lot of these Democratic leaders to start denouncing
where's
the
denunciation?
violence. And
This is happening on our streets. Gross political intimidation and violence. And it's outrageous. It should be a political issue. And I hope it is one day. Stephen, we're sorry about what happened to you. I hope it wasn't because you appear on this show and everybody knows who you are. But thanks for being here. We appreciate it, Steve.
Thanks. Well, I survived, and I think, it only hurts the liberal cause. I mean, I am the biggest advocate, Stuart, of First Amendment rights to file your grievances and have peaceful protests. But I want to see liberals and Democrats condemn the violence in a much, much more effective way because it's getting out of hand.
You're right. Stephen Moore, thanks very much. Hope you don't mind, but come back next week. See you again. Get your face all over the place.
Take care, sir.